If a person can control your emotions, they have discovered the remote control for your life. Write that down. Whoever can press a button and make you angry, press another button and make you bitter, press another button and make you speak out of character, that person has found access to your government. They may not own your house. They may not sign your check. They may not have your name on a contract. But if they can decide your spirit by their behavior, they have become a governor in your life. This is why self-control is not a small subject. Self-control is not just trying not to shout. Self-control is government. It is the spirit taking authority over the soul. It is principle telling emotion, you may feel, but you will not rule. Most people think a trigger is irritation. No, a trigger is an invitation. It is an invitation to leave your throne and become a servant to someone else's disorder. When they insult you, the invitation comes. When they ignore you, the invitation comes. When they misunderstand you, the invitation comes. The question is not, what did they do? The question is, who is governing me right now? You were not created to be managed by every mood in the room. You were not designed to be a thermometer. A thermometer only reflects the temperature around it. If the room is hot, it says hot. If the room is cold, it says cold. That is how many people live. If people love them, they are joyful. If people criticize them, they are destroyed. If people praise them, they are confident. If people reject them, they collapse. That is not dominion. That is bondage with good vocabulary. A thermostat is different. A thermostat does not ask the room for permission to set the atmosphere. It carries an internal standard. It says, this is the temperature, and everything around me must adjust. That is kingdom living. You do not become peaceful because everybody else is mature. You become peaceful because there is order inside you. Peace is not what happens when people behave. Peace is what happens when your spirit is seated, your values are settled, and your convictions are stronger than your reactions. And let me tell you something. Calm is not weakness. Silence is not defeat. Restraint is not fear. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who refuses to be reduced by the room. Power is not always shown by what you release. Sometimes power is proven by what you can hold under government. Any child can react. Any immature person can explode. But it takes a governed spirit to say, I will answer from principle, not from pain. So stay with this teaching, because we are going to deal with government from the inside. If you are choosing to grow in kingdom self-government, subscribe and make this your confession. Put it in the comments. I will not be governed by provocation. Because whoever can trigger you can temporarily govern you, but self-control returns government to the spirit. Now we must define peace, because if you define a thing wrong, you will pursue it wrong. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Write it down. Peace is the presence of order. Many people say, I need peace, but what they really mean is, I need everybody around me to act right. That is not peace. That is dependence. That means your internal condition is being rented from other people's conduct. If your peace requires your spouse to speak correctly, your children to behave perfectly, your boss to appreciate you, your enemies to leave you alone, and your friends to understand you, then your peace is not yours. You borrowed it. And anything you borrow can be taken back. This is why some people are calm only when the environment cooperates. They are peaceful in a quiet room, but they lose themselves in a difficult conversation. They are spiritual in church, but they become someone else in traffic. They are mature until someone says the wrong thing. That is not internal government. That is environmental management. Feelings change. People change. Circumstances change. Money changes. Opinions change. Weather changes. But principles do not change. You can disagree with a feeling. You can negotiate with a person. You can adjust to a circumstance. But you cannot negotiate with a principle. Principles are laws. They never change. Gravity does not care how you feel. If you jump from a building, gravity will not have a counseling session with you on the way down. It will simply enforce the law. Peace works the same way. Peace is not produced by emotion. Peace is produced by alignment with law, with truth, with order, with the government of God inside the human spirit. This is why Proverbs says, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." That is powerful. The Bible does not say he is like a person having a bad day. It says he is like a city. In other words, your life is a territory. Your spirit is a domain. Your emotions are not toys, they are gates. Your thoughts are not harmless, they are entry points. And if there is no rule, no wall, no standard, no gatekeeper, anything can come in and occupy you. So, when I say become unbothered, I am not telling you to become cold. I am not telling you to become proud. I am not telling you to become passive, insensitive, or emotionally dead. No, I am telling you to become governed. A city with walls is not dead, it is protected. A city with gates is not arrogant, it is discerning. A city with government is not weak, it has order. To be unbothered means your spirit has walls. It means every insult cannot enter. Every accusation cannot enter. Every mood cannot enter. Every offense cannot enter. You still feel, but feelings do not rule. You still care, but caring does not make you controllable. You still love, but love does not require you to surrender government. True peace is not controlled by the environment. True peace is produced by internal order. Now go back to the beginning, because every subject in the kingdom must begin with the original purpose. Genesis 1:26 says, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion." Notice the order. God did not say, "Let them have dominion, and then maybe they will develop image." No, image came before dominion. Character came before authority. Identity came before territory. Write that down. God gave image before dominion, because power without character will destroy the person who carries it. This is where many people misunderstand dominion. They think dominion means controlling land, controlling money, controlling people, controlling systems, controlling influence. But the first territory God ever gave you was not outside of you. The first territory was you, your spirit, your tongue, your emotions, your appetites, your thoughts, your reactions, your desires. If you cannot govern that territory, then every other territory becomes dangerous in your hands. You may manage a company and still be ruled by anger. You may lead a ministry and still be controlled by insecurity. You may raise children and still be governed by offense. You may have money in the bank and still be poor in self-control. You may have a title on the door, a position on the platform, a microphone in your hand, and still be a slave inside your own soul. That is why position is never proof of dominion. Title is not dominion. Influence is not dominion. Applause is not dominion. Dominion begins when the spirit can tell the soul,
You will not embarrass my purpose today. God is not impressed by external power when internal government is absent. You can cast out devils and still not cast out your temper. You can preach faith and still be ruled by fear. You can teach love and still be poisoned by bitterness. You can talk about destiny and still be manipulated by anybody who knows what button to press. That is not kingdom authority.
That is public influence with private disorder. The kingdom always works from the inside out. Religion works from the outside in. Religion cleans the cup on the outside. The kingdom governs the contents. Religion wants behavior without transformation. The kingdom establishes identity, then behavior follows. This is why God trains you in image before He trusts you with territory. He deals with who you are before He expands what you have. He deals with your name before He gives you a nation. He deals with your spirit before He gives you a platform. Because whatever is ungoverned in you will eventually mismanage what is given to you. This is why self-control is not a personality trait. It is a kingdom requirement. Everybody say requirement. You do not qualify for dominion because you are talented. Talent can open a door that character cannot keep open. Gift can attract people that your lack of discipline will later wound. Charisma can build a crowd, but only character can carry authority. That is why God is always more interested in your image than your influence. Image first, dominion second. And let me say this clearly. If you cannot govern your reactions, you will be governed by anyone who can provoke you. That means your enemy does not need to defeat your purpose. He only needs to activate your immaturity. He does not need to take your future. He only needs to get you to speak from pain, decide from anger, move from fear, and react from offense. One uncontrolled moment can reveal an ungoverned territory. One sentence can expose a city with broken walls. So do not boast because you have authority over things. Ask yourself, do I have authority over me? Can I be insulted and remain one? Can I be misunderstood and remain principled? Can I be delayed and remain faithful? Can I be tempted and remain integrated? Can I be pressured and still be the same person? That is character. Character is what remains unchanged under pressure. Character is the self under government. The first territory of kingdom dominion is not land. It is not money. It is not people. It is not ministry. It is the self. And until the self is under government, every other form of dominion is a risk. God gave image before dominion because He never intended power to be separated from character. Before He expands your reach, He must establish your rule. And the first place you must rule is within. Now, if character is what remains the same under pressure, then a trigger is a test. Write that down. A trigger is not just something that makes you angry. A trigger is an examination. It is life asking, "Are you settled yet?" It is pressure asking, "Are your values real, or are they just words you use when everything is convenient?" This is why we call letters characters. Why do we call A character? Because A is always A. A is A in the morning. A is A at night. A is A in Africa. A is A in Asia. A is A in public. A is A in private. A is A when praised. A is A when ignored. A does not become B because someone insulted it. A does not become C because the atmosphere changed. A does not lose its shape because somebody misunderstood it. That is character. Character is that part of you that does not change when circumstances change. So the question is not, what did they do to me? The question is, what did their behavior reveal in me? Because provocation does not manufacture your character. It reveals whether your character is settled. If one comment can make you become someone else, then that comment did not create the problem. It located it. If one delay can make you compromise your values, the delay did not create your impatience. It exposed it. If one insult can make you surrender your dignity, the insult did not create your disorder. It revealed an area where government has not yet been established. You see, most people blame the trigger because they do not want to examine the standard. They say, "They made me angry." No. They exposed that anger still had authority. They say, "They made me act that way." No. They revealed that your behavior is still negotiable under pressure. They say, "I only said that because they disrespected me." No. Disrespect revealed whether respect is your principle or only your preference. If you only honor people who honor you, that is not character. That is transaction. If you only speak well when you are spoken to well, that is not integrity. That is exchange. Character is not proven when everybody agrees with you. Character is proven when they lie on you. Who are you when they lie on you? Who are you when they ignore you? Who are you when they try to embarrass you? Who are you when they do not invite you? Who are you when they give credit to someone else? Who are you when you are delayed, overlooked, corrected, questioned, accused, and misunderstood? That is where you meet yourself. Not the self you present, the self you have governed. This is why you must stop trying to control everybody around you. Control over others is weakness disguised as power. If the only way you can have peace is to manage every person, every word, every room, every outcome, then you are not powerful. You are fragile. Real power is not needing everyone else to be predictable before you can be principled. Real power is internal integration. Everybody say integration. It means your spirit, your values, your tongue, your emotions, and your behavior are one. The Lord our God is one. That is holiness, oneness, integrity, no division, no double life, no public calm and private rage, no Sunday worship and Monday revenge, no smiling face and poisoned heart, no principle when it is easy and reaction when it is hard. Be one. Be integrated. Be the same person under pressure that you claim to be in prayer. So when you are triggered, do not just rebuke the situation, study the revelation. Ask yourself, what standard is not settled here? What value became negotiable? What conviction was too weak to hold me? Because a trigger is a mirror. It shows you the area where your emotions are still trying to govern your principles. And until that area is settled, people will keep finding access. Provocation does not create you, it reveals you. Pressure does not invent your weakness. It uncovers the place where your values have not become law. So settle the standard before the next insult comes. Decide who you are before they test you. Build the conviction before the pressure arrives. Because character is not what you promise in peace. Character is what remains unchanged when peace is challenged. And here is where you must learn emotional separation. Write that down. Emotional separation does not mean you stop loving people. It does not mean you become cold, hard, distant, or proud. Emotional separation means I refuse to let your disorder become my identity. I can deal with you without becoming you. I can hear you without absorbing you. I can answer you without surrendering the government of my spirit. Some people do not know how to carry their own chaos, so they export it. They export it through accusation. They export it through pressure. They export it through manipulation, guilt, disrespect, sarcasm, silence, and intimidation. They come into your peace carrying confusion, and if you are not governed, they will leave lighter and you will leave carrying what belonged to them. That is not love. That is poor government. You must understand this. Not every emotion that shows up in you started in you. Sometimes anger was imported. Sometimes anxiety was imported. Sometimes bitterness was imported. Sometimes you walked into a room peaceful, and because someone else was ungoverned, you allowed their atmosphere to become your atmosphere. They were loud, so you became loud. They were bitter, so you became bitter. They were dishonorable, so you became dishonorable. They were childish, so you came down from maturity to answer them in their language. That is why you must know the difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is borrowed behavior. A response is governed behavior. A reaction says, I became this because you did that. A response says, I know what you did, but I still know who I am. A reaction is external control. A response is internal government. A reaction is what happens when somebody else's spirit reproduces itself in you. A response is what happens when principle remains stronger than provocation. When you answer anger with anger, you have allowed anger to multiply through you. When you answer dishonor with dishonor, you have become a carrier of the same spirit you claim to oppose. When you answer accusation with accusation, insult with insult, manipulation with manipulation, you have not conquered the atmosphere. You have copied it. You have allowed another person's disorder to find expression through your mouth. Do not become loud because they are loud. Do not become bitter because they are bitter. Do not become dishonorable because they are dishonorable. Do not become small because they are small. Do not become cruel because they are cruel. Do not become unstable because they are unstable. You are not what they said. You are not how they treated you. You are not the atmosphere they created. You are the image of God under government. So guard your spirit. You lose authority when you let another person's disorder define your spirit. Let them be responsible for their disorder. You remain responsible for your government. Now let us expose how control works, because control is rarely honest enough to call itself control. Control usually dresses itself in concern. It dresses itself in disappointment. It dresses itself in silence. It dresses itself in affection. But the purpose is the same: to move you away from conviction and bring you under another person's will. There are 3 tools people use every day to control an ungoverned spirit. Write them down: fear, approval, and offense. Fear says, if you do not do what I want, you will lose something. Approval says, if you do what I want, I will make you feel accepted. Offense says, if I can provoke you long enough, you will expose yourself. These are not just emotions. These are mechanisms. These are buttons. And if your convictions are not stronger than these buttons, people will keep using them. Fear of loss is one of the oldest forms of manipulation. They threaten distance. They threaten silence. They threaten access. They threaten support. They threaten your reputation. They do not always say it directly, but the message is clear. If you keep that boundary, I will leave. If you tell the truth, I will withdraw. If you obey God, I will make you look bad. If you do not please me, I will remove what you need. And if fear has more authority than conviction, you will betray your own government just to keep their presence. That is why you must ask yourself, what am I afraid to lose? Are you afraid to lose a relationship? Are you afraid to lose an opportunity? Are you afraid to lose their smile, their money, their invitation, their recommendation, their attention? Because whatever you are afraid to lose can become the chain around your convictions. Never let access become your master. Never let support become your God. Never let reputation become more important than righteousness. If they can make you abandon principle by threatening absence, then their absence has become your ruler. The second tool is approval. Approval is sweeter than fear, but it can be just as dangerous. Some people do not control you by threatening you. They control you by rewarding your compliance. When you agree, they smile. When you submit, they call you loyal. When you keep quiet, they call you mature. When you ignore your boundary, they give you attention. But the moment you stand in truth, they withdraw. They become cold. They become distant. They punish your government with silence. Listen to me carefully. Attention is not always love. Sometimes attention is payment for surrender. Some people only approve of the version of you they can control. They love you when you are available, silent, agreeable, predictable, and useful. But the moment you become principled, they call you difficult. The moment you say no, they call you proud. The moment you set a boundary, they say you changed. No, you did not change. You became governed. Do not sell your convictions for applause. Do not trade your spirit for acceptance. Do not make approval your bread. Man shall not live by compliments alone. You cannot be governed by the faces of people and still be led by the Spirit of God. If praise can buy you, criticism can sell you. If approval can lift you, withdrawal can crush you. That is not freedom. That is emotional employment. The third tool is offense. Offense is bait. Everybody say bait. Offense is not just what they did. Offense is what they want you to do after they did it. Some people provoke you because they need evidence. They push your pride. They insult your name. They question your motives. They exaggerate your weakness. They keep pressing until you say something, post something, text something, do something, and now they have proof. They baited you into becoming the evidence for their accusation. This is why you cannot let pride answer every insult. Pride is expensive. Pride will make you spend your character to defend your image. Pride will make you lose your peace trying to prove you are right. Pride will make you react in a way that confirms what your enemy was trying to say about you. Sometimes the trap is not the insult. The trap is your need to answer it from ego. So in this teaching, I am giving you 3 daily tests of self-government: pressure, approval, and offense. Pressure tests what you fear. Approval tests what you crave. Offense tests what still owns your pride. And every day, life will examine you in these 3 areas. Can you be pressured and remain principled? Can you be praised and remain humble? Can you be offended and remain governed. Manipulation only succeeds where fear, approval, or offense has more authority than conviction. So build conviction until fear cannot buy you, approval cannot rent you, and offense cannot expose an ungoverned spirit. Be settled before they threaten you. Be whole before they praise you. Be governed before they provoke you. Because the person who is ruled by conviction cannot be easily controlled by emotion. Now, after you expose the mechanism, you must build the architecture. Because it is not enough to know what controls you, you must construct something inside you that control cannot enter. Write this down. Convictions are the walls around your peace. A person without conviction is an open city. Anybody can walk in with an attitude, walk in with a threat, walk in with an insult, walk in with a rumor, and rearrange the furniture of their soul. This is why you do not rise to calm in the moment. You fall back on convictions you already built. Calm is not an accident. Calm is architecture. Calm is the result of internal construction. You cannot wait until the fire starts to build the wall. You cannot wait until the argument begins to decide what kind of tongue you will have. You cannot wait until you are offended to decide whether you are a person of honor. You must decide before the pressure comes. You must build before the storm arrives. Most people are trying to behave right without building the convictions that produce right behavior. That is why they keep failing under pressure. Behavior without conviction is decoration. It looks good until wind comes. But when conviction is established, behavior has roots. You are not calm because you feel calm. You are calm because you have already decided what is allowed to govern you. Let me show you how the human life is built. Your philosophy becomes your belief system. What you believe becomes what you value. What you value becomes your moral standard. Your moral standard becomes your ethics. Your ethics become your character. And your character becomes your lifestyle. Everybody say lifestyle. This means your reaction did not begin when they offended you. Your reaction began in what you believed before they offended you. If you believe you must win every argument to be respected, then you will sacrifice peace for victory. If you believe revenge proves strength, then you will call bitterness justice. If you believe silence makes you weak, then your mouth will become a servant to your insecurity. But if you believe your spirit belongs to God, if you believe your peace is more valuable than your pride, if you believe your tongue must serve purpose and not anger, then pressure will meet a wall. So you must write your convictions. Do not just wish for maturity, build it with words. Say, I do not trade my peace for winning an argument. Say, I do not surrender my tongue to anger. Say, I do not need revenge to prove my value. Say, I do not let offense choose my language. Say, I do not become dishonorable because I was treated dishonorably. These are not cute statements. These are laws. These are internal laws. And when you make them laws, your emotions have to bow. This is where boundaries come in. A boundary is not an attitude against people. A boundary is a standard for protecting purpose. Some people think when you set a boundary, you are being mean. No, you are being governed. A boundary says, I can love you, but I cannot let your disorder enter my spirit. A boundary says, I can forgive you, but I cannot give you unlimited access to damage my assignment. A boundary says, I am not rejecting you. I am protecting what God gave me to carry. Never apologize for having walls around your peace. A city without walls is not loving. It is vulnerable. A house without doors is not humble. It is unsafe. A life without standards is not kind. It is confused. You were not commanded to be available to every spirit, every voice, every demand, every crisis, every emotional emergency. You were commanded to be faithful to purpose, and anything that keeps pulling you out of purpose must meet a standard. Lock yourself inside your convictions. I know that sounds strange, but it is freedom. Lock yourself in the prison of principle. Lock yourself where lying cannot get in. Lock yourself where bitterness cannot get in. Lock yourself where revenge cannot get in. Lock yourself where manipulation cannot get in. Lock yourself inside the standards that keep your spirit free, because the right prison can protect you from the wrong slavery. When your convictions are strong, people may still provoke you, but they cannot own you. They may still misunderstand you, but they cannot redefine you. They may still invite you into chaos, but they cannot make you live there. Convictions become the walls around your peace. Build them now. Build them before the next conversation. Build them before the next insult. Build them before the next test. Because when conflict arrives, you will not become what you wish. You will become what you have built. And this is why you must stop confusing calmness with weakness. The culture has taught you that the loudest person is the strongest person. No. Sometimes the loudest person is the emptiest person. Sometimes volume is not authority, it is evidence of insecurity. Sometimes the person who has to raise their voice has already lost government over their spirit. Strength is not noise. Strength is order. Strength is not how quickly you can react. Strength is how deeply you are rooted. A tree does not argue with the wind. It simply remains planted. A mountain does not explain itself to the storm. It simply remains where it was placed. That is calm. Calm is not the absence of feeling. Calm is the presence of government. Write this down. The calm person is not weak. The calm person is integrated. Integrated means one. It means you are one person in public and one person in private. One person when they praise you, and one person when they insult you. One person when you have power, and one person when you have no power. One person with friends, and one person with enemies. One person on the platform, and one person in the parking lot. One person in prayer, and one person under pressure. That is holiness. Holiness is not just religious behavior. Holiness means wholeness, oneness, no division. The Lord our God is one. And when God tells you to be holy, He is telling you, stop being divided. Stop having values in your mouth and reactions in your emotions. Stop saying you believe in honor while dishonor governs your tongue. Stop saying you are mature while offense still decides your behavior. Be one. Be whole. Be integrated. Charisma can impress people, but character keeps people from owning you. Charisma can make people clap. Character can make your enemies respect your silence. Charisma can get you attention. Character can keep your attention from becoming addiction. Charisma may open the room, but character decides whether the room controls you. Do not be satisfied with being impressive if you are still easily provoked. Do not be satisfied with being gifted if your gift is carried by an ungoverned soul. Calmness is spiritual weight. When you are not leaking anger, your words become heavier. When you are not leaking insecurity, your decisions become clearer. When you are not leaking revenge, your presence becomes cleaner. People can feel when your words are coming from principle and not from pain. They can feel when your answer is not a reaction, but a judgment. That is authority. So do not let anyone make you ashamed of being calm. Let them call it weakness.
Let them call it silence. Let them call it pride. You know what it is. It is government. It is integration. It is the soul under principle. Calmness is not emotional weakness. Calmness is proof that your spirit has become strong enough to rule your reactions. Now the question becomes, how do I answer without losing myself? Because life will not stop presenting provocation. People will still say things. People will still misunderstand you. People will still come with disorder, fear, accusation, pressure, and manipulation. So maturity is not the absence of provocation. Maturity is government in the presence of provocation. Write this down. The mature person does not merely avoid reacting. The mature person responds from principle. Avoiding a reaction is only the first level. Some people think they are mature because they did not say what they wanted to say. But inside, they stored it. Inside, they rehearsed it. Inside, they built a courtroom, put the person on trial, judged them, sentenced them, and called it peace. That is not peace. That is hidden bitterness wearing a calm face. So you must learn practical government. When you are provoked, the first law is pause before speaking. Pause. Do not give your mouth immediate permission to represent your pain. Your tongue is too powerful to be hired by your first emotion. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. That means your tongue is not a toy. Your tongue is government. Your tongue can build or destroy. Your tongue can heal or wound. Your tongue can reveal wisdom or expose disorder. So before you speak, pause. Then breathe before answering. Some of you are too spiritual to breathe. You want a deep revelation, but sometimes the first act of government is oxygen. Breathe. Let your body know your spirit is in charge. Let your nervous system come under order. Let your emotions report, but do not let them reign. There is a difference between hearing your emotions and obeying your emotions. Your emotions are information, not legislation. They can tell you something is happening, but they must not become the law of your behavior. And while you are pausing, ask this question. What principle must govern me right now? Not what do I feel, not what do they deserve, not how can I win, not how can I prove I am not weak. Ask, what principle must govern me right now? Is it honor? Is it truth? Is it patience? Is it restraint? Is it courage? Is it love? Is it justice? Is it silence? Is it correction? Because every moment of provocation is asking for a ruler. Either anger will rule, pride will rule, fear will rule, or principle will rule. This is why delayed response is wisdom. Every immediate feeling does not deserve immediate expression. Tweet that to somebody. Every immediate feeling does not deserve immediate expression. Just because you feel it now does not mean you must say it now. Just because it is strong does not mean it is right. Just because it is honest does not mean it is holy. Some people say, I am just being real. No, you are being undisciplined. Real does not mean righteous. Honest does not mean governed. You can be honest and still be destructive.
Delayed response gives principle time to stand up. It gives wisdom time to speak. It gives the Holy Spirit time to remind you who you are. Sometimes your first answer is your wound speaking. Your second answer is your pride speaking. But if you wait long enough, your conviction will speak. Do not let the first emotional impulse become the final decision. That is your daily discipline. Every day, practice this. The first impulse is not the final decision. The first feeling is not the final authority. The first thought is not the final law. Now, government also needs language. You cannot always just feel boundaries. You must be able to speak them. Say, "I will speak when this can be respectful." That is government. Say, "I am not available for manipulation." That is government. Say, "I will not answer from anger." That is government. You do not have to shout it. You do not have to explain it for 40 minutes. You do not have to build a case to prove you are mature. Sometimes one sentence spoken from principle carries more authority than an hour of emotional explanation. But understand this: silence is not always wisdom. Sometimes silence is fear dressed in religious clothes. Sometimes you are not silent because you are governed. You are silent because you are afraid. Afraid they will leave. Afraid they will be angry. Afraid they will withdraw approval. Afraid they will expose you. That is not peace. That is bondage. Silence must be governed by purpose, not fear. There is a time to be silent because speaking would only feed disorder. There is a time to be silent because the person is not listening. They are hunting for ammunition. There is a time to be silent because your words would be wasted in an atmosphere that has no respect for truth. Even Jesus was silent before certain accusers. But there is also a time to speak because truth requires a witness. There is a time to speak because a boundary must be established. There is a time to speak because silence would permit abuse, confusion, or deception to continue. Wisdom is knowing the difference. So do not make silence your idol, and do not make speech your addiction. Both must bow to principle. Some of you speak because you cannot tolerate being misunderstood. Some of you stay silent because you cannot tolerate confrontation. Both are forms of bondage. The governed person can speak when principle demands speech, and be silent when purpose demands silence. That is maturity. That is integration. That is freedom. And be careful with this word, unbothered. Unbothered does not mean unresolved. Some people are performing peace while secretly storing bitterness. They say, "I am fine," but their heart is keeping records. They say, "It does not bother me," but they keep replaying the conversation. They say, "I have moved on," but their spirit is still living in the offense. That is not self-control. That is emotional concealment. Self-control does not mean you bury the wound. It means you refuse to let the wound govern you while you submit it to truth, healing, and wisdom. Do not confuse suppression with dominion. Suppression says, "I will pretend I am not affected." Dominion says, "I will not let what affected me rule me." Suppression hides the pain. Dominion governs the response. Suppression performs calm. Dominion produces peace. And God is not calling you to perform peace. He is calling you to become whole. So practice this today. Before you answer the text, pause. Before you return the call, breathe. Before you walk into the meeting, settle the principle. Before you respond to the accusation, ask, "Who am I going to be in this moment?" Before you defend your name, protect your spirit. Before you prove your point, preserve your government. Because if your answer costs you your spirit, the price was too high. If winning the argument makes you lose your peace, you did not win. If proving you are right makes you become dishonorable, truth was not governing you. The goal is not to have the last word. The goal is to have a governed word. A word under principle. A word under wisdom. A word under God. Do not let the first emotional impulse become the final decision. That is how you train dominion. That is how you build internal government. That is how you answer without surrendering your spirit. And if you want a picture of this, look at Joseph. Joseph is one of the greatest examples in Scripture of a man whose environment kept changing, but his identity did not change. His brothers changed his location, but they could not change his name. Potiphar's wife changed his reputation, but she could not change his spirit. Prison changed his address, but prison could not change his purpose. Write this down. Joseph did not let the pit become his philosophy. That is important. Some people go through one betrayal, and betrayal becomes their belief system. They begin to see everybody through the wound. They say, "I will never trust again." They say, "People are always against me." They say, "I have to protect myself now." They say, "If I ever get power, I will show them." Pain renamed them. Betrayal renamed them. Rejection renamed them. And now they are no longer living from purpose. They are living from injury. But Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, not strangers, brothers, blood, family, people who knew his dream and hated him for it. Then he was sold into slavery. Then he was lied on in Potiphar's house. Then he was put in prison for righteousness. Then he interpreted a dream for a man who forgot him. Betrayed, accused, imprisoned, and forgotten. That is enough pain to produce bitterness in an ungoverned man. That is enough pain to make a person suspicious, angry, manipulative, vengeful, and self-pitying. But Joseph remained Joseph. Everybody say, remained. That is character. Character is what remains when everything around you changes. Character is what you keep when people take what they can take. They took his coat, but they could not take his calling. They took his freedom, but they could not take his fear of God. They took his reputation, but they could not take his integrity. They put him in a prison, but they could not imprison his interpretation. Because when a person is governed by purpose, even pain has limits. Now do not misunderstand Joseph's calm. Joseph's calm was not passivity. Joseph was not weak. Joseph was not pretending the pain did not happen. Joseph's calm was alignment. He was aligned with a future greater than the offense. He knew that what God showed him was bigger than what people did to him. And when your future is bigger than your offense, you do not let offense become your Lord. Some of you have made your pain bigger than your purpose. That is why you keep rehearsing it. That is why you keep explaining it. That is why you keep building your identity around who hurt you, who left you, who lied on you, who forgot you. But Joseph teaches us that pain may be part of your history, but it must not become your identity. What happened to you is not allowed to name you. God names you. Purpose names you. Image names you. And here is the real test. Joseph finally got power. Power is always the examination. When Joseph was in the pit, we saw his suffering. When Joseph was in prison, we saw his patience. But when Joseph was in the palace, we saw his character. Because now the people who hurt him needed him. Now the brothers who sold him had to stand before him. Now he had food, authority, position, and the legal right to retaliate. But his character protected his power. This is why image must come before dominion. God cannot trust you with authority if every promotion becomes an opportunity for revenge. God cannot trust you with influence if your first plan is to punish everybody who did not believe in you. God cannot trust you with the palace if the pit still governs your spirit. Power does not corrupt character. Power reveals the character that was already there. Joseph said, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That is government. He did not deny what they did. He interpreted it under God. He did not call evil good. He placed evil under purpose. That is maturity. That is dominion. That is a man whose pain did not have permission to rename him. God can trust you with greater authority when pain does not have the power to rename you. If betrayal cannot make you bitter, if accusation cannot make you crooked, if delay cannot make you resentful, if rejection cannot make you vengeful, then you are becoming dangerous to darkness and useful to God. Because now you can carry power without using it to heal your ego. Do not let the pit change your name. Do not let prison change your principles. Do not let being forgotten make you forget who you are. Remain governed. Remain whole. Remain under purpose. Because the same God who saw Joseph in the pit saw Joseph in the palace. And he is looking for people whose spirit can survive both pain and power. So now become too principled to be easily provoked. That is the final charge. Do not just enjoy this teaching, become it. Do not just say amen to self-control, and then return to the same emotional slavery. Truth that is not practiced becomes entertainment. Revelation that is not obeyed becomes information. And information without transformation is deception. Write this down. Every trigger is an invitation to surrender government. When somebody touches that subject, when they use that tone, when they bring up that memory, when they call that name, when they question your value, something inside you is being invited to leave the throne of principle and come down into reaction. But you must refuse the invitation. You must say, "My spirit is not available for occupation. My peace is not for sale. My tongue is not for hire. My identity is not in the hands of another person's disorder." Peace is not a mood. Peace is internal order. Character is not how you act when everything is easy. Character is unchanging integrity. Character is when you are still you when they misunderstand you, still you when they accuse you, still you when they promote you, still you when they betray you, still you when they bless you, still you when they ignore you. A is still A at midnight. One is still one in every nation. Character is what remains consistent when circumstances keep changing. And convictions are the walls around your calm. If you have no convictions, every emotion becomes a visitor with a key. Fear walks in. Approval walks in. Offense walks in. Pride walks in. Revenge walks in. But when conviction is built, your soul has walls. Your spirit has gates. Your peace has laws. You do not have to explain everything. You do not have to answer everything. You do not have to win everything. You only have to remain governed. So here is your assignment. For the next 7 days, identify the area that governs you most quickly. Not the area you want people to see, the real one. Is it a person? Is it a topic? Is it a tone? Is it a memory? Is it rejection? Is it disrespect? Is it being corrected? Is it being ignored? Is it feeling excluded? Find the place where your emotions lose government, and submit that place to kingdom self-control. Do not be vague. Name it. Write it down. Say, this tone governs me. Say, this memory governs me. Say, this person still has too much authority over my emotional state. Say, this accusation still makes me leave my principles. Honesty is not weakness. Honesty is the door to freedom. You cannot govern what you keep pretending is not there. Then build a conviction for that place. If rejection governs you, say, I am accepted in purpose before I am approved by people. If disrespect governs you, say, I do not become dishonorable because I was treated dishonorably. If accusation governs you, say, truth does not need panic to defend it. If delay governs you, say, my timing is under God, not under pressure. Make a law, make a wall, make a standard, and every day for 7 days, bring that area under government. I want you to write your declaration where you can see it. And if you are watching this, put it in the comments as a witness to your own spirit. Write, I choose principle over provocation. Write, my spirit is governed by God's purpose. Write, I do not surrender my peace to offense. Write, I am too principled to be easily provoked. Do not write it for performance. Write it as a vow. Write it as a line in the sand. Write it because your spirit needs to hear your mouth agree with your conviction. And if this word is helping form you, subscribe. Not as a religious habit, not as a performance, but as a decision to keep growing in identity, purpose, and self-government. Stay under teaching that strengthens your spirit. Stay under truth that disciplines your emotions. Stay under principles that make you whole. Because your future does not need a more gifted version of you with an ungoverned soul. Your future needs a whole you, a principled you, a governed you. The person who is ruled by principle becomes free from the tyranny of provocation. Pain may come, but it will not name you. Promotion may come, but it will not corrupt you. People may speak, but they will not own you. Remain whole, remain governed, remain under purpose, and never give temporary people permanent authority over your spirit.